Welcome to Life's a Coach. Our mission is to empower individuals like you to take charge of your life, discover your purpose, and elevate your performance to new heights. Each week, we'll be diving into engaging discussions, introducing you to valuable tools from the coaching world, and giving you different perspectives on individual development. Whether you're seeking clarity, motivation, or a fresh perspective, we've got you covered. Again, welcome to Life's a Coach, where the power to transform your life begins now.
Well,
Coming back
welcome
to
to
Life's a Coach,
Life's a
baby.
Coach.
Let's go. We're just getting into some deep conversation about relationships, right? And stuff like that. And basically more friendships, right? But how we form them and how in later life it's much more difficult, right? To get into those relationships and maybe form those relationships. And maybe that our youth and our upbringing has a little bit to do with that too, which is interesting. And then the relationships that we've built, which are weird, right? We have this like weird vibe of complete honesty, but like playfulness, but then we have our seriousness. That's what I was thinking. What do you think about like the depth of the relationship between us on Life's a Coach from the first kind of time that we were all together versus now that we've probably had around 3, maybe 4 months of kind of calls?
Let me just say this for the record, for those who just joined us on like, what's going on? Eric just came in 100 miles an hour. This concept.
We're excited.
We definitely gotta put this into our segments. It's like whenever we jump on, we always have a check-in and check-up how everybody's doing. All right. And sometimes actually already within that space, we already start getting into the deep stuff and into the soul food and the stuff that's going on. So sometimes we just go, all right, let's just record. Okay, let's just go for it. So this is what's happening right now. So
it's been
sorry,
happening
back to
for the
you.
last hour, actually.
Yeah, right.
That's why we're so warmed up.
Exactly. So anyway, Eric, back to you. You were saying?
To your question, Eric, I feel like just like with most adults, I would say, we always want to put a bit of our best foot forward. Like I remember the first call that I was on with you guys, I was like, I don't know what they're expecting from me or from me to share. Like, how deep can I go? Or should I keep it a little more surface and fun and happy and just lighthearted? So you're trying to get to know the space and the people that you're talking to. And so you do kind of put that first best foot, first impression, forward, where you're limiting to a degree what you're sharing. And so I feel like that's kind of how we all started. It was a little bit more professional and just trying to get to know the quirks of each other. And then now it's like we can tease each other. We know more of the details of our lives and what's going on and where we need to support each other or check in with each other, like outside of the podcast. And it's a beautiful dynamic now that has become this family where even though we share different topics and we talk about life coaching, it's much deeper than that. It's just a group of friends talking about these different feelings and different thoughts. I know like I've been a pretty like vulnerable sharer for a few years now, but I've seen a lot of that kind of evolve with all of us more over the last few months.
Love that. Lex, I think your point goes to another interesting point that just came up for me with regards to relationships and friendships, right? We do put our best foot forward. It's almost like that, okay, I'm putting my makeup on and I'm going to present my best self. Recently, as I've been going on in my journey, I think that I almost have a different point of view as to a relationship, like I don't want to waste that time with somebody I feel as if is not going to be on the same wavelength as me. So how can we kind of present a good version of ourselves, a well done up version of ourselves, but also an authentic version of ourselves very early on, so that now we can just stop all the BS? Because I know deep down, like example, right? I know that I need people around me who are willing to go deep, like they're willing to go deep with me and be real. And I've only recently found out that it's a deal breaker if people are not willing to talk about just real stuff. Maybe if they're not ready to talk about certain things, fair, but like be real and go a little bit deeper than just the surface level, because
our hobby.
or for whatever reason, right? So like now, maybe how could I don't want to say vet, because you don't want to like go there, but how can you again present your authentic self while we all know that first, second, third kind of occasion meeting people, it's kind of like you don't want to scare anyone off as well. Any thoughts?
Actually, like you, Eric, what Alexis has said also prompted the same thought process. And it brought me back to the day that I met all of you. Granted, I already knew Averill and Jean, and so I felt comfortable. But it's just a nice reminder that you come in and you're a little nervous because you're like, I'm not even sure what I'm doing here. I don't know what I'm supposed to say. And because you guys are, on the line of authority, so to speak, because I'm the guest, there's a little bit of intimidation, but really what you end up learning later. So like if you could learn this when you walk in the door, is that everybody is just as intimidated as you are. There is no hierarchy. There's no, everyone's just real. And if you come in authentic, not with your suit and tie, when you're really a flip-flop and tank top person, it always works out. Like it always works out 10 times better than if you were to come in with the mask or with your whatever professional suit on. But we always anticipate so much more than what really is. And, whether, Eric, you like to go deep immediately. Not everybody's comfortable to go deep immediately, but you see that they're real and, that there's really no fear. I don't know. Everything happens before you arrive, right? Anyway, all that to say is that I've always advocated to, especially the younger generation, there are no lines, there's no division. Everything is just open. Just be you and feel comfortable when you cross the line. And I don't mean cross the line in a negative sense, meaning that there's no cue that you're supposed to stand behind. I don't know if that makes any sense.
That's great.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. Like we were saying earlier on before we started recording, when I was sharing about my 7-year-old kid, is that it's easier for kids to make friends than for us adults too. Right? They're not as jaded. Like Alexa said, they're not as jaded. They're not walking in thinking, oh, what's she going to think of me if I say this? What's they're going to think of me? They don't have all that baggage and stuff that as adults we've had that makes one's guards up when you walk into a room. Like you go to a party, you walk into the room. I like what Alma, what you say, that everybody to a certain extent is feeling the same thing. You're also feeling uncomfortable. It's on you, that kind of stuff. So I think it's also to do with us having a lot of stuff we've gone through in our lives that makes us feel anxious sometimes to step into a room. It's like you're meeting new people for the first time and you want to put on your best your best foot. What do they call it? What's the expression? Put your best
best foot forward.
Exactly. Yeah. But kids don't have that. You know what I'm saying? All that stuff comes with conditioning. All that comes like, okay, you need to be proper. When you walk in, somebody had to tell you when you walk into the room, when you're meeting new people, you need to be like this. Be presentable, dress like this, smile, da-da-da-da. If it wasn't your family, your mom or dad, it was some work coaching or something like, okay, some program at work. It's all conditioning. So that makes it more challenging for people to connect on a deeper level. And even what you're saying, Eric, like you're someone who likes deep conversation. So it's like if I was to meet you at a party and go sit next to you, we start chatting, within minutes, you and I will be deep, right? And having said that, Alma just say too that, yeah, some people are not comfortable to go deep first. You get me? So to me, I look at it and go, it's true. Because there are certain people who like, even you coming in and going deep, someone will be like, oh, okay. They feel uncomfortable with that. They don't trust you. And then they're like, oh, okay. Oh, that's weird. I've had people go, oh, that's weird. Or, oh, that's awkward or whatever. They're like, no, I'm not the weird one. It's weird for you because you're the one who's not comfortable going deep. And
I mean,
that kind of
again,
thing.
when I say deep, you're absolutely right, and it's good to clear up, right? In the sense that I definitely don't tend to jump straight into what is the meaning of life the first 5 minutes that I've met someone, but I do go into like I want to like know if they just have a curiosity, right? A curiosity of just things above the surface level, right? Above the surface level of how are you? You know what I mean? Like a prime example, I think it was last weekend, maybe the weekend. No, yeah, it was last weekend. I went to a birthday party that my son was invited to from a little girl at school, right? So I'd met the dad a couple of times, but again, we'd only really just had one or two conversations, right? So we go to this like kind of like a trampoline park, right? And interestingly enough, like a lot of the other kids had like RSVP'd late that they weren't coming. So there's a kind of like a little bit of family, and then Luca, my son, was the only one kind of playing. So it's a bit more of an intimate kind of party kind of situation. But after the niceties kind of come in, he kind of, I don't know when it came up or where it came up, but he's just like, I kind of I tried to read a little bit of the Stoics and things like that. And I was like, oh, really? Memento mori. So memento mori means remember you must die. It's a Stoic, kind of very famous kind of slogan that obviously just focuses on just remembering, that you're human and you will die one day, right? And then that led, just that small little part was just like, it led us to us just having real authentic conversation just about how you raise your kids and just that kind of stuff. I want to like and for some people that may be too deep as well, do you know what I mean? But I feel as if like it can be difficult, to Avril's point, because for me, I'll be honest, it's difficult to strike up kind of really and this is where I may need Avril's help as a stand-up comedian, but like just conversation in like normal places, you know what I mean? Because I feel when I feel comfortable and it's an environment where a lot of conversation is happening and things like that, then that's one place. But like those aren't generally, again, I don't want to put people into categories, but they aren't the type of people that you're generally meeting at like pubs or bars and things like that. Are like people, not usually people that are looking to have those types of conversations. So what would you say to people who are wanting to, I mean, again, expand their circle in any way, right? Shape or form, where, they want more friendships, right? More real friendships. What would you say to them as a starting point?
Be interested, be curious, be open.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Explain, and I think explain.
I see what you're doing, Alma. I see what you're doing.
Ew, what am I doing?
We all recognize it.
She's segueing us into today's topic.
Oh, and what is today's topic?
Well, I mean, on that same note, just thinking about it and talking about it, the biggest thing that kept standing out to me is you have to have a certain level of self-awareness to build. I tend to go back to this all the time because to me it is like the foundational building block of life. but you have to be
Yes.
self-aware and build self-love, because that's the only way that you're going to combat these anxieties of worrying what somebody else is thinking as you're talking to them.
Good point.
If you feel more comfortable in your skin and in loving who you are, regardless of what this person thinks, then you're not going to be as concerned about it, and you can be curious about them. So that, I think, is one of the big things that if I can give a piece of advice for somebody that is trying to build friendships or build deeper connections, be a listener. Like, everybody's talking, but a lot of people don't feel that they're actually heard. And that's one of the things that as life coaches, we talk and learn a lot about, and we focus a lot on that. But if you meet someone, like, just assume that they don't have someone in their life that is giving them the space that they need to really talk something out.
And can I just add, also listen to yourself, listen to your gut, because the energy will naturally guide you to the people that you are meant to have conversation with, or make it a little bit easier to have conversation with. So there's two types of listening, I think. Yeah, for sure. Because your energy does precede you when you walk in the room. So just follow it.
You're so right. So right, Omar. And sometimes your radar can be a little bit off. Like, I met someone once at a yoga class, and we hit it off, and we started talking about books. We had so much in common, and I was like, wow, this is a great new friend, because we instantly started having deep conversations. And when I say deep, I just mean substance. Like, if we start talking about books or movies or, vacations and travel, like, that to me is more substance than just the weather or traffic.
But what was wrong about it? That sounds like it was so right.
It was so right. And as I started to really get to know her after a few meetups and things, I realized that she was just very, very good at hiding her energy from me. She really wasn't the type of person that I wanted to be around. And we're no longer friends by my choice, because I literally started to feel sick being around her and her negative energy. She was so positive and so deep to cover all of these wounds that she had not addressed, that literally just seeped into the rest of her being. And it became like, it's not a judgment thing, but it's just I'm not willing to be around someone that is not willing to address those things about themselves that then affects everyone around them.
Sounds like a perfect meeting. It sounds like your energy led you exactly where you were meant to go and to learn exactly what you were meant to learn.
I did learn a lot. You're 100% right. Yeah, absolutely.
I think that it's that part as well, though, that the ability to be able to listen to everything, right? To actively listen to what's not being said as well, right? There's a lot of people that will present certain things, but almost the omission of other things can lead to even larger revelations about where said relationship might go, right? So you're 100% right.
It's like dating, right? When they say it's about how they treat the wait staff. If you're on a date and they treat the wait staff poorly, or they're even just a little bit rude, what does that say about them? And that they're kind of omitting that they're going to treat you or your family or, something in that way. It's the same. You're 100% right, Eric.
So important. That's why it's so important to listen. The person you're with will tell you everything you need to know about them if you just stop talking and listen.
People love to talk about themselves, right?
Oh my gosh, they do. Yeah. They will give you everything on a silver platter if you just control your.
Another one that's interesting. April, sorry, you've been wanting to jump in, so go.
I've been wanting to jump in. I'm like, oh my god, this is juicy. This is juicy.
It's like April in the back going.
Alexi saying something. I'm gonna say something, and I'm like, all right.
He's gonna mute us soon.
Let's roll out the carpet. Come on, April. Kill it.
Go on.
Well, there's stuff that you both said, like Lexi and Alma, that it felt like you're giving two different perspectives. But when I sit here, I'm like, well, it's the same actually. It's all intertwined. So, Lexi, you spoke about self-awareness, right? You gotta be that's where I felt like, okay, I love this. There's that part about being self-aware, right, of what's going on here and in here, right? And you're right. One thing that I like about what you said is that you never know that sometimes the person you're meeting, whether it's at a party or wherever you meet that person may actually not have anybody who they've spoken to substance stuff. Yep. I'm sure we've all had moments where you meet someone and you start talking, literally within less than a minute, they go deep and it feels like raw, like they just got someone they could just it's not even venting, it's just getting stuff off their chest. All right. Yeah. So there's that part that I liked of like, wow, yeah, just being aware that sometimes we are God's instrument, right? You don't know that you're just there to hold space for somebody that you randomly meet, right? Yep. And two, when Alma got in and said, yeah, but you also got to pick up people's energy, right? To know what works for you, what doesn't, right? I was like, that's so true too. Because you spoke about how, let's say let's give it a scenario. You go to a party. There's some people that you're going to naturally or just gravitate towards, and you find yourself having certain conversation. That's also something that's happening energetically, right? But what I loved is the fact that even that part of knowing whether this person is a good fit for me energetically right now comes about being self-aware. And Eric, you brought in about also listening on this end. So if I'm aware and I'm present to what's going on mentally, emotionally, energetically here, I can then pick up. It's easy for me to pick up, the energy or who I'm gravitating to, or who like, I'm vibing, everybody's vibing, but I can see that person. We seem like there's got a vibe there too, but something in me here on this side is checking and like, no, or something's going, yeah, this will be good for you, but someone there actually needs you more. It's just like, sometimes it's also, so to me, I kind of feel like it's also in being present here. Yeah. Which also comes with being self-aware what's going on here. But anyway, you all three of you made some really amazing points. I was vibing with that. I love it. Anyway, yeah. That's what I had to say for now.
That's
back
so
to you,
good.
Eric.
Well, yeah. I want to. You reminded me of something quick, if I might.
Sure.
I might have even shared this on another episode that we did. I can't remember, but when talking about how do we kind of show up more authentically and be more of our true self in this kind of first impression, I don't even know what it was that you said, April, that reminded me of this, but I read somewhere once, and maybe this will help you if you're struggling with this, of being more of your authentic self and more confident in that moment of meeting someone new. But I read somewhere that if you how was it? Oh, now I'm going to butcher it, of course. But essentially, if you are not presenting your true or your authentic self, that is the same thing as manipulating that person. Because you are manipulating their perception of you by wearing this mask. And that rocked me to my freaking core, because I was like, gross.
But
that is
I don't,
true.
Absolutely.
I don't want to think that I'm manipulating anyone.
Do you think people consciously wear masks, though? I'm sorry.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. Exactly.
I do.
Exactly that. We were on exactly the same page, because a lot of people
everyone
don't even realize, because they haven't done that work to know who they are. And I feel so strongly about that, because I've been on that journey myself of, I thought I had it all figured out, and I thought I knew what resonated with me, until I really took, as Abel said, a real deep look inside as to, okay, what am I being told, and what am I like just picking up from other people, and what is authentically me, And to Almar's point, a lot of people don't know for long periods that this isn't really them. This is just, again, the old Charles Cooley quote, right? I'm not what you think I am. I'm not I'm not what I think I am. I'm not what you think I am. I am what you think I think I am. Or again, you can look it up.
What I think you think.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's exactly that, right?
Yeah. That's, I forget about that one too. That's so powerful. And you're right. I think, Omar, a lot of people either don't realize it or it's such a habit.
Yeah,
that's
right.
I mean, because if you think about, like, even as kids, Avril, you mentioned earlier about, it's programmed. It's kind of nurtured into you. You're coached into it in a sense as a kid, but you also adapt to the environment you're in. So if you start to notice that one kid in your class gets more attention because they act a certain way, you might start acting that way so that you get more attention if that's something that you're craving. Maybe you don't get enough attention at home because you have 6 siblings and, it's a lot of attention going around, but you only get a portion of it. I'm just using that as an example. But I was thinking about that too when you were saying that, because I thought, but there are certain things that, like, I picked up as a kid, whether it was, oh, this girl wears these trendy clothes and gets more dates. That's something that you recognize and you see and you wonder, is it because of the clothes she's wearing? Is it because she's thinner? Is it because she's louder and funnier? Like, there's all of those things that you start thinking about. How can I adapt myself to, for lack of a better term, get more of what I want? Even as we get older, it's what type of education can we gain to grow our career? Or, like, it becomes a little bit more beneficial in a healthier way. But there are still those moments where, to your point, Eric, like, you kind of think you have it licked. Like, oh, I know what I'm doing. I know who I am and I'm more comfortable. And then all of a sudden you go to a party and you leave and you're reflecting on how that went, how your conversations went, and you realize, and I'm speaking from personal experience, I'll own this, but you realize that you kind of adapted to the room as opposed to letting the room adapt to you.
Oh, yeah.
Makes me think a little bit of the trait that people have, a lot of people have, of people pleasing.
Yes.
Like, so you want to people please, and you might wake up one day in a relationship and realize that you were just altering yourself to fit in a pleasant environment, essentially. And then, who has that person been with for the last year? Wasn't you? Because
ooh, that's kind of when you say it like that.
100%.
Yeah.
That resonates deep.
Done that. Yeah.
Wow.
Hello.
Yeah, too much compromise.
Ditto. Yeah, going through that. No, but that resonates because we're like the human experience. I think we are. We went back to, like, kind of Neanderthal days, and our most most basic beings, right, of survival and replication. We're meant to be in packs, and to be socially excluded would put us at risk of not being able to survive or replicate. So we do these things, and it's innate within us to be able to fit in, even if it goes completely against what our natural inclinations are. So we're almost fighting against our genes and our almost natural processes, as you're saying. But no, I love what you said there, Lex, with regards to like going through that process. It almost reminded me of also, like, the rat race, right? The rat race of, and I think this can be one when we're a little bit older. We spoke about when we were kids, but when we're older, it's this same thought process of, I want to keep getting these promotions. And even if, you know what I mean, like, it doesn't fit in with what we really want to do, right? For example, perhaps it's better for us to have a bit more freedom. So our current role is actually the best one for us. Like, that's what I've felt personally in my role. like kind of starting this new like performance coaching, kind of really wanting to see where that goes, and needing to kind of say, you know what, maybe it's not best that I get this promotion, so that puts extra work on me just because everyone else says that, that's the way that I need to go and that's what I should do, right? No, I'm going to buck the trend. I like this because a lot of the times, if you go up within roles and jobs, especially the corporate world, it's more administrative, it's more leadership, in the sense of just being like delegating responsibility, and a lot more of your time goes to meetings where you're just signing off on stuff rather than being in the nitty gritty of the parts that I enjoy. For example, coaching on the technical side for me is the part that I enjoy about it. It's the part of the communication with the kids and individual development plans and the whole sports psych part. So wanting to go a step further into the kind of leadership of administrative kind of side doesn't appeal to me, but I went down that road a long time. So as adults, it happens too, for sure.
That reminds me of the question. I ask a lot of my clients this question of, what does success mean to you? What's your definition of success? And what you just shared, Eric, really resonates with me, and it kind of helps me. I'll be doing some reflecting on that myself because I'm kind of in that space right now a little bit. But yeah, it's if we think that we need this extra promotion because of what everyone else's definition of success is. But for you, success to you means balance and more purpose. And if you don't have that balance with your day job, so to speak, because it allows you that flexibility to work on more of your passion projects and on life coaching and helping others that way. Yeah, like that's not success to you. And a lot of people I know, I think Elmar, you and I have even talked about this in the past of, it's like some people just wake up one day and they're like, oh shit, like this isn't really the life that I kind of wanted in this corporate rat race, like you said. And I know personally a lot of people that have been there. It's the same thing about, money doesn't mean happiness. It might make a lot of things easier, I'm going to say it, but it doesn't
also cause a lot
necessarily
more
guarantee.
Problems, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Isn't it part and parcel of life? I mean, it's like you have to try it all on. You go into the grocery store and there's like 10 different types of yogurts. You got to figure it out. Try one at a time. And so, you're not going to know what your values are. You're not going to know what your definition of success is yet. You're not going to, unless you do jump in and, you're your own personal scientific project. Go for it.
That's it, Alma, and you're absolutely right. I love what you did there, right? We learn from both positive and negative experiences, but the key part is to what Alexis just said is a lot of people go through 10 years of either a relationship or either a certain career not changing because they haven't, they just kind of go through it. They go the peaks and the troughs, you know what I mean? They'll go through the positive of that raise and the negative of, do you know what I mean? So it's that self-awareness of, am I truly fulfilled? Absolutely. No, it's like, but it's like that awareness, right? Of like, am I truly fulfilled? Am I truly living the life that I want to live at the end of the day, right? So you can either make that, hey, a year of experimentation to be like, hey, okay, at this point, I think it's also important to have these benchmarks of being like, of deep reflection. A lot of the time I do it during the summer just because that's the way my seasons work, right? But a deep reflection as to, okay, am I truly happy right now in my energy, my work, and my love? You know what I mean? And that's only recently because, you know what I mean? Up to for a long time, I was just kind of you just kind of go with the flow,
the reality is there's no time frame, there's no rule. Okay, that's number one. And number two, it's a lot easier to play with different areas when it's just you. When it's just you, the repercussions aren't that bad. But if you find yourself with a mortgage, with a family, with a lot more on your plate, it's almost a luxury, right? To stop and say, well, what about me? Am I happy? You just don't go there. It just doesn't.
Yeah.
And usually when we do go there, it's because things have gotten so bad that you are forced to look at it, right? But everybody's on their own timeline, and ideally, because we only have like 100 years to live, right? The sooner the better, but everyone in their own time. And again, like I said, life's constraints can kind of find you trapped until you're ready to see.
I think that so I get it. Right now I'm in a room with 3 coaches, right? I'm in a room with people who do the work, who do the inner work, who check in and who, but I was just thinking about the average person out there who's not a coach or who doesn't necessarily, to an extent, check in or do the self-reflections and stuff like that. And as I was listening to the different examples you guys brought about, like, you're in a relationship or it's a job or what have you, and you're like, 10 years goes by, like, where am I? What the fudge is going on? Like, and I remembered certain seasons in my life where, whether it's a job or it's a community that I was part of, or even a relationship I was in, is that there's always that voice, that intuition that we all have, whether we're reflective or not. There's a moment when you start feeling like, I don't know what it is, but something in here, I'm not as happy as I used to be with this job, or I'm not as, and if I look on the practical or tangible things, every box still checks. Oh no, everything that checked for me to be in this job still checks. But there's something in me that I'm like, there's something nagging. And sometimes that little nagging feeling starts off very quiet, and it doesn't matter how busy I get myself in. There's always those moments where either I'm in it or I get a moment to just chill. I'm doing something mundane. There's that nagging that goes like, and it's that listening to that voice and getting to that point, like, wait, something is going on here. All right. You wake up and you look inside, like, wait, who's this person I'm with right now? And who am I right now? And this is not what I envisioned. As you were saying earlier on, that sometimes we just go with the flow and we going with the habits and the conditioning we have, or sometimes we're not intentionally being conscious of what we're doing. So we go a year, we go 2 years, we go 3 years with the mask, and we get used to putting the mask on and not being authentic with others, which means we're also being authentic with ourselves. Then you just wake up one day, you're like, I don't know when it happened, but I don't like to be in this space anymore. I don't want to be in this job anymore. I don't want to be, I was just going to say my own contribution to that is like, I feel like, or I think that at some point we have that little voice inside of us that's nagging at us, like, okay, it's time to move on, or this job has served its purpose, or we've outgrown this community, or we've being drawn to something else that's different. However, within that, then once we start feeling that, the challenge is now being true to ourselves too, being authentic, like, okay, this is what I'm feeling. I remember when I was in, and you all know that my life, I've traveled a lot, and I've been different spaces and places, different parts of the world. I remember I was part of this martial arts school for a good 3 years or so, and that had become my family, my community. Like, outside of that, because I used to travel a lot with work. Even at work, I couldn't make relationships that would be outside of work. Like, we can make friends, but then we can't hang out because I made a friend in Kansas. Then next week I made a friend, like, it was just like that. So, but the only consistent thing was when I got back for the weekend or for the week, this group of people became my family, right? Like, really, they were my family. Outside of that, I just moved from the UK a year or two before, hadn't made much friends or community. So that became my community. So 3 years later, I get my black belt. Then I think it was about 4 months after, I started feeling in me like, okay, life is calling me elsewhere, right? I feel life is calling me elsewhere. And I had done life enough of those to know what that feeling meant. And there have been moments where I've had that feeling and I try to grab on with both hands and say, no, I'm staying here. And then shit go crazy. Like, okay, I'm resisting life and it's only bring out a bad outcome. So I knew it's time to move on. But it was so interesting that even one of my best friends then, when I told her I'm leaving the martial arts school, they couldn't get it. They're like, did anything happen wrong? What happened? Why are you leaving? What's going on? Did you have a fight with anybody? I'm like, no, I just feel it's time for me to move on. And they could not get it.
Yeah.
There's actual certain people who were offended that I left the school, but I knew in my heart that no, if I'm going to be true to myself, it doesn't make sense up here, because sometimes people think, even in certain relationships, people think like we need to have a big fight or we need to break up in a certain way to know this. But sometimes you get to a point where you realize, if I want to continue being authentic to myself with the way I'm evolving or the path my life is taking me, it's not like this may not be serving me anymore. And I'm not serving this space anymore. And there's nothing that has happened like there was a fight or a blowout or whatever. No, it's just I'm growing this way and going this way. And
you outgrew it. It's time to move on.
And if I want to be authentic to myself, and that's where that people pleasing stuff comes in, where because at some point we all get to that point where it's get hard, where like, am I gonna be true to myself and go this direction, or am I gonna continue people pleasing and start suffocating and dying inside? It's like my dreams are beginning to die, my passions are beginning to die. I'm losing parts of me by staying in this place.
Ooh, yeah.
And you knew that you had a choice. A lot of people don't realize they have that choice.
Right. Exactly.
The thing, Alma, is that I had done it enough times in my life that it's like when we as coaches, there are certain skills we are taught, but our intuition grows with the skills that we have as coaches, right? So it's that thing that at that point, I knew it intuitionally that my season here is done. But if I was to go back to the first few times, Alma, when I got that vibe and I wasn't knowing what to do, that wasn't my natural go-to. I resisted it and stuck around until, okay, this is a bad example, but
no, it's good. People need to know how to know, because people don't even know that they're allowed to change and to move. So how did you do that? Share with us.
I was about to say, someone once gave me a bad example. When we were kids, there's a time where I would be in the bathtub with my little cousin, and it's just me, we're kids, and one of our little kids pooped in the tub, right? We were playing with our, little ducks and stuff, and one of our cousins pooped in there, and it didn't take us. You just look and you jump out. You know what I'm saying? You don't need to be told.
Time to go.
Get out.
Time to go.
Get out. You're just like, oh, hell no, I'm out. Right? So it's a silly example, metaphor, but sometimes in life, it's that thing where it's no longer healthy or good for you to be in that relationship or in that job and what to do, right? But as funny or silly example that is, sometimes we stick around for the sake of like other people who are there. And for somebody who is there, they may have no issues with the space they're in. But for you, you now feel like, okay, this does not resonate with me anymore. I got to move out. Right.
So perfect. Avril, I think, that
amazing.
That has been anchored now. I don't know. I think I might.
Yeah.
Boom.
Truthfully though, it's knowing I'm again going to go back to the foundation of you loved yourself enough to keep recognizing those signs and those signals to set boundaries and actually stick to them. Like when I get this feeling, I'm going to evaluate it. I'm going to explore it. And that means that I need to start looking around. Like, is there something else that's calling to me And you're absolutely right, Elmar. Most people don't know that they even have a choice because they're not really like opened to that. And that's not a judgment by any means. All four of us have been there, and we're talking about this for a reason, because we're evolving to the other side of that and being more open to it 100%. But it still relies on you like being open to kind of exploring some of those different things. And I love what you said, Avril, too, about like the community not understanding. And that scares people too sometimes, at the idea of like cutting a friendship or a relationship. That can be absolutely terrifying. It's just like when I was a health coach, for example, that was one of the things I worked with a lot of my clients on, was the fear of rejection from someone because they were changing their eating habits and because they weren't going to the bar all the time with their friends, or they said no to cake or things like that. That is a true issue that a lot of people encounter when they make changes or when they grow. And so you were even saying some of your friends are like, but what, something drastic must have happened for you to want to leave.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's like, no, I just love myself enough to know that I'm allowed to evolve. I'm allowed to try new things and explore new things and give these different opportunities a shot. But this reminded me so much of something I just recently had to make the very tough decision on. And it was because the self-reflection finally like clicked in all of a sudden one morning. But I just recently resigned from a nonprofit that I was a part of, and I battled that for months. But when I finally admitted to myself that I was struggling to give, I have a lot of plates spinning in my life, and I have been struggling to give the energy that each of those opportunities or things in my life deserve, whether it be work, my new marriage, this podcast, my own podcast, all these different things. And I realized that I was actually being selfish with this nonprofit because they deserved more and I wanted more for them. But I thought, but if I leave, that's going to look terrible, like I don't support them. But it finally hit me one day. I am selfishly taking up a spot in this organization that somebody else needs or is called to or wants to be a part of, that can give the energy. I can still support. I can still encourage people to be a part of it, to join their seminars and to, do all these things. I can still promote them, but I don't have to take up that spot. And so if I could encourage some people, like when you're afraid of leaving a community or a friendship or a relationship, like you never know what's on the other side of that. There might be another person that is meant, to be in that community for that season, and you are meant to be another person in, a different community, or just different things like that. If you really think about it, it's like, for me, it helped me be a little less scared. And as soon as I had that realization, I sent a voice note to the founder of the organization, and I explained how I was feeling, that I was struggling with managing my energy, but I had that self-awareness moment. And I realized that I was being selfish and I didn't want to be that anymore. I wanted to open up that space for somebody. And they thanked me. They thanked me for my honesty, and they completely understood that life takes us in different areas. And I have to listen. We all have to listen to our intuition, like you're saying, and we have to go with those new directions sometimes, as tough as it might be.
Yeah. It's good for you that actually it went that way, that they were understanding, because sometimes you do get people who they actually struggle. And one thing I've noticed, like I said, I've been in these seasons a few times, a number of times in my life, where at times what ends up happening is people then, when you tell them that, they can either actually start projecting their own stuff on you, right? And by that, I mean, like, okay, let's say for you, Lexi, you decide you want to start eating healthy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're now saying no to cake, no to going out, la di da di da, right? For some people, like, oh, so you think you're better than us now, da 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 da. I've seen that come. I'm like, wait, that's not even what I'm saying. I'm just saying
Super common.
I'm trying to take care of me, and I just feel like right now my body and where I'm at, I'm trying to do life differently, you know. And you get people like straight up like, oh, so you feel you're better than us, and some may say it and some don't, but you can feel it in the energy. Like, okay, I was trying to do this the most amicable way possible. You guys are now coming out with a different thing, and sometimes to me, I'm like, well, is that mean? I mean, not to say I don't necessarily judge those situations, like judge to see what am I trying to say. Like sometimes you can say, oh, so this is the person's true colors all along, right? Or sometimes you get to say, well, okay, they're just hurting that they're gonna lose me, and we're gonna lose what we have, or it seems like we're losing what we have. You know what I'm saying? So it's not necessarily this is their true colors, that's who they were before, but just like, okay, they're just showing up. Their hurt is showing up that way.
Right.
In the end, everybody is winning because you are winning, you're following yourself, and they are being triggered and awakened. And so everybody is learning at that moment. So, it's
Hopefully
beautiful. Just the whole dynamic is just as it was meant to be for
I think
everybody involved.
we've kind of gone full circle in the sense of we spoke at the start about living authentically in your relationships, right? And being your true self. And then we kind of went full circle into, okay, making decisions in your life and potentially life-changing decisions, leaving a relationship, leaving a career, leaving a non-for-profit, leaving anything that you have been a part of, right? And I think it comes back to that original point that we said of if we enter the relationship or friendship, right, with our true selves with regards to our values and what we desire, our goals, then when we choose to move on because we feel as if potentially we've outgrown or for whatever reason it's not serving us anymore, then that community can accept that with open arms because they accepted you at the start when you were when you came in with with your true authentic self versus now obviously you now going full circle and needing to evolve out of that cocoon into the butterfly, right? The problem occurs when we're not authentic at the start and then we follow the rules and we don't live our authentic selves. We don't say that nagging feeling when we're midway through a meeting and we don't quite agree with a certain course of action because we want to, stick with what everyone else is saying. It's those little moments that are important that at the start of these types of relationships or careers or organizations, whatever it is, that, the body keeps the score, man. The body knows. The body, like Avril kept bringing it back to the feeling of something's not quite right, man. There's something not quite right here. It's not resonating with me. And if that keeps happening, that's your intuition telling you that maybe you need to, move on. And I've said a quote before and I'll say it again. Change happens when the pain is staying the same. It's greater than the pain of of change. So again, it's only at that moment where we feel uncomfortable enough to be like, you know what, like this isn't working anymore. Do you know what I mean? So
it's beautiful. And moving on is moving up and it's growing and learning, and that's our purpose here in life. So
exactly.
100%.
I mean, if you're not evolving, you're dead.
Yeah,
exactly.
True. So as we wrap up, quick question for y'all. What's your take home from today's podcast?
I want to say, can I just say that I just love the three of you, and the dynamic is wonderful, and I've learned so much from the last 2 hours. So that's my takeaway. I showed up authentic with 3 other authentic people, and I am a better person for it at the end of the conversation. So thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I've said this before that these sessions are like therapy for me because I know, it's true. What I said again before that I like to have, and I said deep, but really what I meant was resonance, in the sense of that feeling of connection between somebody else's experience and my experience, and that I can learn from somebody else's experience because they're on that same wavelength, that same energy as me. So I've just enjoyed, as Almar said, just everything that someone just adds something, and I'm like, whoa, like I didn't think about that. And so in general, I feel just that idea of authenticity and the journey, as Almar said, there's no right way or wrong way. There's just your way. So whenever you're ready, do it your way.
Yeah. I totally agree. I love this time, and it is in a way like a coaching session or a therapy session for me always. It's been a rough week for me, where some of my self-worth especially has kind of taken a hit, and so I kind of needed some of these reminders. I need this reminder a lot to like focus more on my own opinion of me mattering more than other people's opinions of me. So reminding myself, just listening to you all, and even sharing some of how I've gotten there, some of the steps. I kind of needed that reminder. And then also just some of the discussions around your kind of path to your definition of success, and around the kind of professional and rat race. I needed some of those reminders to take with me to remember some of the self-reflection that I'm already in, but that I need to continue. So it's been a powerful, as usual, but resonating and I think a hopeful feeling is one of the big things I'm taking away that I needed. So I appreciate and love you all. Thank you for that.
Yo, why y'all doing this to me? Y'all be all sentimental and shit.
Because we're deep people.
I know. That's not what I say. Yo, what's your take home from this? I didn't expect it to take this direction.
What did you expect? I want to know.
I don't know.
Nah, he knew.
Getting me about this.
He knew.
You know better.
All right.
Come on.
All right. Okay. So funny enough. Okay, I'll say these two things. For me, my take home was more or less a reminder, really, in something that Lexi, you mentioned about. I mean, earlier on we were talking about getting into a group setting for the first time, like a party or something, or meeting someone for the first time. And you say that sometimes you don't know that the person you're talking to hasn't had anyone listen to them in a while. So just that was a great reminder for me. Just like, yeah, that's what we're there for too, as well. Just like to just hold space or just to listen, So thanks. That's my take home. It was more of a reminder. And at the same time, I also feel like I need to say this because I felt it earlier on and I didn't say it, right? Because of the way the conversation went. But when we first started and we were talking about how you show up when you meet people for the first time, and Lexi, you spoke about how you felt when you first joined the group, right? And whilst you were saying all that stuff of how you felt when you first joined the group, I really felt like, you know what, I need to say this to you. But then as time went on, we just moved on from that topic. And knowing the week you've had, I felt like, oh my God, I was meant to say this, is that we really cherish you, Lexi. We love and cherish you, and you really bring value to this team. In your personality, your vibe, you've got your own vibe going, but that which you bring, just who you are, we really appreciate and cherish you here. You were an amazing addition to the team, to be honest with you. And I personally, like I said to you some time back, I can't see Life's a Coach without you. You know, you're family to me, and we love you, we cherish you, and we value you. And okay, Alma, I use I statement. I use I statement. I love and cherish you.
But I concur.
I love and cherish you.
Of course,
Alexi, I
We
really
all
value
concur for
you,
sure.
and and something really touched me too is that I see you as my sister. I see you as family, and
Same.
I realized a day ago, 2 days ago, that I had sent you some stuff on WhatsApp, like just you and I, we back and forth every now and again. And like, wait, Lexi hasn't really communicated much in our group text and in the responses. I was like, I should check up on her, right? And it didn't hit me until now. I was like, okay, I need to do that more often. When my sister doesn't show up, I'm like, wait, I miss her. She's not around. What's going on? I need to follow up on that. But I just thought I need to put that out there and know that, no, we, speaking for the group, I know we do appreciate you here on this.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Thank
for
you,
sure.
guys.
That said,
Hey, April,
thank you.
Same.
I just wanted to challenge all of our listeners. Number one, based on what you said, just listen. Just think that this person is telling you their story for the first time in maybe days and weeks, and just listen, give them that gift. And number two, that friend you haven't heard from in the last week, reach out. Reach out and say hello. Yeah, just check in on them.
And share what you're
Exactly.
thinking, what you're feeling. It's scary to think about sharing a thought or a feeling, but you never know whose day you're going to make. Like,
That's
I
true.
am a very, very strong person, but that really helped me just feel a little bit stronger by Avril and by you all sharing that, because I mean, I definitely feel the same way. But as scary as that might be, like, somebody needs to hear that, and you deserve to share that connection, because it just deepens your connection overall. So don't be afraid to share that.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us on Life's a Coach. I've been Avril Yosfat with Alexis, Eric, and Alma. And I don't want to say we do hope you got something out of this. I know you did get something out of this. So till the next time.
Let us know. Let us know.
Oh yeah, let
Yeah.
us know. I love receiving those emails. Man, they're so cool.
Yes, keep them
Alright.
coming.
Love you all.
For those messages.
Indeed.
Bye, guys.
Bye for now.
Thank you for joining us on today's episode of Life's a Coach, where our conversations aim to empower and support your personal growth. Until next time, remember that personal development is ongoing, so keep exploring, keep learning, and keep living a life that aligns with your true purpose. Take care, and we'll see you on the next episode of Life's a Coach.